card is giving me an error. So now I have to take it all apart and do it again. Not today. No screwing up today. I'm gonna throw it in the sea. I'm not gonna go for it.
No sleep last night. Too excited to sleep because of today.
If we're not back in 8 hours, tell my mom that I love her.
Fell up again.
Oh my god! I'm gonna die! I'm going to die!
I ain't a mess.
You know, let's make any cut.
It's a movie, you need all of this.
Yeah, this is for the ending.
Welcome everyone. I'm Julianne Neal and I'm so excited to be here today with the star of Between Worlds, Chris Dennis, and the filmmaker, James O'Connor from The Art of Storytelling. So welcome you guys. It's so great to see your faces.
Thank you. Great to see you all too. Nice to be here.
Awesome to be here and to be with Chris too. It's been a while. What's up, buddy?
It's been a while. It's been quite a few years I've seen your face, James.
Yeah, yep.
So Chris, where are you right now?
I am in a little bit of a studio in Trinidad, in Diego Martin.
Okay. And then James, I guess this is making you a little bit homesick because you're all the way up in Canada, other end of it. So
Yeah, I'm and it's not cold anymore, which is nice. But I'm in Ontario, Canada, where we moved about three or 4 years ago. And I'm not super envious of Chris right now. It's my dog freaking out in the background. Because I hear that the beaches are closed again. Yeah, so because of pandemic reasons or whatever. So.
Well, we're here today because of the exciting release of Between Worlds again. So, I mean, this film has been through quite a journey. Chris, can you tell me a little bit about the film? I've seen it. I've watched it again and again. It's so beautifully done. And I'm so excited about the work that you're doing now and the work that went into it before. But how did the film come about?
You want the long version or the short version?
I got all day, so that's up to you.
But
I don't even think that there even could be a short version at this point. I mean,
yeah,
anyway, go
it's
ahead.
tough to compress all the experiences that encompasses the film, you know. But obviously the film came about with James hearing about my story and we being acquaintances, you know, for a bit, and things that seemed normal to me. James is a bit of an artist, I would say. Things that would seem normal for me apparently wasn't normal for most people. You know, when you live in rural Trinidad, And I'm not the only one with a story like this. You know, I don't even think I'm that special or anything. I just think that people have a different interpretation of life living in the part of Trinidad that I come from and in these parts of the world, you know. So, for example, not having any electricity for days on end is a normal thing. Not having water in the pipe is a normal thing. To all right, well, we have to go to the river and get water. You know, washing clothes by hand, fishing off the rocks for food. Those are like normal things. But I guess for some people, that's you know, a bit different and unique.
I
Who's
believe-
joining us?
So hello, Dwayne.
Hi, Dwayne.
Sorry, meeting to meeting.
That's all
Dwayne.
right. More
Glad
than
you
maybe-
could join us. Glad you could join us. We were just starting. Julianne, go on again.
Well, I mean, Chris, you obviously consider yourself to be not anything quite that special, but I think the rest of the world is not going to agree with you on that. So, James, what was it that struck you from the beginning? How did you hear about Chris, first of all, and what made you want to tell his story?
Yeah. This is interesting timing that Dwayne should join us actually, although he wasn't in Trinidad much at the time, well, being over in Tobago. But Chris, you know, I'm not even sure we really met properly, formally. I think, you know, the thing with surfing is you'd go up and you'd kind of just like meet people on the way and you'd say like, you know, well, where's breaking right now? Where's the wind good? Where's the tide good? Whatever. And everybody, you know, I think I had just come back to Trinidad actually. I'd returned from England. I'd done my university degree or whatever, and I was now working in Trinidad, and I was just got back into surfing in a serious way. And we'd go up and, you know, you'd check the tide and you check. Everyone wants to check. Everyone wants to check, and then everyone would be like, "Well, we got to check Chris. We got to pass by Chris." And I would hear this name over and over and over again. It was almost like there was some sort of oracle you had to consult. You know, in terms of like where was really going to break, or where was Chris now? You know, where was Chris surfing right now? Everyone wanted to go and surf there because he had it wired. So I knew that there was something special, and I quickly learned that it was just really his character and his personality. You know, I mean, the stuff about understanding the ocean and all of that bit. He's a true waterman who lives on the coast. I mean, that's he probably feels when it's breaking, you know. But I just was drawn to him as a person because his character and his spirit, you know, was so audacious. And I think it was that, you know, in coming back to, we never really met. I think at one point, Chris, you just said to me, "I'm gonna go on tour," or I wanna go on tour. I can beat those guys, or whatever it was. I don't even remember the genesis.
I can remember that moment, you know. Would you believe? That was a day at Rough Side.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew of you. And I remember being on the beach, like coming out of the water. And you started asking me a bunch of questions. You came up with some other guys. And you asked me what I want to do with my surfing. And I tell you, I want to go on tour.
Right. So just explain to Julian what that meant, going on tour. Like, what does that really mean for you, where you were in that space and time?
Me saying I want to go on tour meant that that I was the biggest dreamer, and that was only a dream. And yeah, that dream was only being translated every time I saw a magazine, or every time I saw something on an old VHS tape or something like that. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't have a clue about how things worked back then, but I just knew I was going to do it. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my reaction to that, Julian, was like, okay, then. That's a pretty crazy idea. So
Off to go.
Yeah. I don't know. Everybody. I noticed as well at the time that a lot of people that were in that circle of let's go check with Chris or whatever were very dismissive of that idea. And people are, you know, they're like, oh, look, that's never gonna happen. Forget about it. But I could see that he was never gonna take that for, you know, as an answer. And I figured, plus the fact that his surfing was explosive, right, in the water, and he had this super candor about him. in the way that he broke stuff down. So I just said, look, I'm gonna start rolling cameras and just see what happens. And it was totally, Chris, it was a see what happens moment. It was like, and I think the coolest thing about this whole project is now, after 10 years, we're still seeing what happens.
But I think I must touch on that before I met James and all of this, I was having like competitive results and stuff. And every time I got a first, or every time I got a good result, it just made me, even though the results were like locally, it just made me feel like, I could do this. And at that point as well, too, you all have to understand that sometimes when you think, well, this is it, this is all I have, there's not really a second plan. That's a lot of the times where your strength comes from,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know from the first time that I watched the film, the opening scene of you just walking away down the beach, and I didn't know what to expect when I saw it. But then there was a moment when I really felt like I connected with the film and with you, when you look at the camera and you have this grin on your face. You're so excited. Y'all have traveled all night or whatever it was, and it was just, people wanted you to succeed because of your personality and because of the charisma that you obviously have. And that came through for me in watching the film, and I just wanted it for you. I mean, I know everybody else felt the same way. So Dwayne, how about you? How were you involved in, and what is your memory of filming and the process?
Well, let me just make sure I'm not on mute.
Good.
I'm just, these are just these are my best friends, and whatever Chris or James ever wanted, I just wanted to be part of. I try to be a very positive person, and they're very positive people. So, positive people try to stay around each other. And I live in Tobago, and we have a lot of very good surf. And my brother and I have a lot of access to tools that get people in the water, be it boats or paddle boards, or just, we kind of have the area kind of wired, and we just helped out wherever we could, just because friends take care of friends. And surfers are kind of like a family anywhere you go in the world. And if someone is in need, you've just met him, you help out. But with Chris, Jimbo, I actually met at a random wedding in Tobago, and surfing was one of those glue that held us together. And Chris is the same. Chris was just a really nice guy in the water. We got along, and before we knew it, we're sleeping on each other's floors, and we're helping each other out. And anytime we could be with each other, we're with each other. And I mean, there's a million stories to go with that. And our relationship grew from there. But James wanted me to come to the middle of the jungle at 8 at night, and then jump on a boat and jump out in 10-foot surf and swim into the reef with cameras that I'd probably have to sell my house to buy. I would do it because it seemed like a fun thing to do. I mean, whatever these boys needed, and I mean, it's easy. At least for me, it's easy to do those things for friends. I mean, when Chris was in Brazil, and Chris has crazy stories from his Brazil trip, and where some crazy things happened, and I almost felt like, man, I wish I could jump on a Brazil flight and handle his issues, just because, but he's on the other side, he's just hours away. So, I mean, from my perspective, just really being there for my friends and
it's funny that you mentioned family, because Brett's Dwayne's brother, Brett, was very instrumental too in days when we really wanted to get further offshore. And it's just awesome to have that kind of support. And the floors, sleeping on floors that Dwayne's talking about, I can tell you that's like just calling him 8 o'clock the night before and saying, okay, look, and this is how hard it was to get planets to align. There had to be swell. We had to be able to get flights. We had to be able to get Chris there. We had to be able to get cameras there. I had to have a team, because I can't just go and jump in the sea by myself, because it's super arduous. We're not just doing like a day of photography. We're trying to do a whole documentary. And we would do it. we would get the last flight. We'd get on standby or something, and we would get to Dwayne's house, and he'd be like, "Yep, I'm not prepared for this, so just make yourselves as comfortable as you possibly can." And it was just, yeah, and even down to like when we premiered the film locally in Trinidad, there were people who got involved. I would call up and say, "Look, I need banners to promote this film. How can you help? What's the cost?" And then we would get an invoice, and then 2 weeks later they would call and say, "Yeah, you know what? Cancel that invoice. It's cool. You guys, we're really, really happy to do the banners to get the premiere, get excitement around it or whatever." And everybody was like that with this project, and really was the only reason it came to be was that level of support. Hundreds of people, I think, in the end of the day, Chris, who we just said, "Hey, can you do this?" And they were like, "Yeah, no problem."
Amazing support. And I think it's important to mention that this was kind of first of its kind at that time being done, a film of this kind. So yeah, there was a bit of buzz, and obviously in a way James kind of pioneered that. Fast forward to today, you'll see a bunch of different projects coming out of Trinidad, and I think I can't help but think that that moment back then had a lot to do with the inspiration for now.
Oh, I'm sure it did. And I know in the behind the scenes, the first thing James and I were just talking about, the first thing you hear is, "I'm going to die." And I mean, it sounded like it was just an exciting time. Chris, what was your favorite memory of anything crazy that happened during that time period or our filming? What's something crazy James did? Because he's doing crazy stuff all the time, I think.
A lot of it comes to mind. A lot of memories come to mind from James getting wrapped up on the rocks in Shark River. And you hear the name of that spot, Shark River.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, from him getting washed up on the rocks to almost losing the camera to, I think it's important to mention another person who was real active in it, which is a guy called Anthony Fung, right, James?
Totally. I mean, it's 50%
his.
It's really Anthony's movie as much as it is my film. You know what I mean? In terms of the hours put in, super contribution. Yeah.
So me and Anthony, we James and Anthony scheduled a shoot with me, and the sun was shining in the morning, and then it was like rain and thunderstorms in the afternoon. But Anthony just felt that we could have pulled it off in pouring rain, to me taking him to a secret spot and filming in the rain.
Yeah.
Some of the best stuff was stuff that happened organically and naturally. And for me, I'm sure James would say the same. Like, if there was one thing that I asked, was it nothing to be like glossed over or faked. It all had to be just honest and genuine.
Mm-hmm. That really comes through in the film. James did a film, I don't know if you know this, Chris and Dwayne, but James did a film for my partner, Bruce Anderson, and I. Bruce is a native of Trinidad and Tobago as well. And
I heard.
Everything was organic with the filming of all of that. As much as you might try to plan something, I don't think James can fly that way anyway. He's in it, whatever happens. So and speaking of that, I know how much life has changed for us because of the art of storytelling, and James and Dylan and Miranda and everybody that had something to do with our film. So what would you say, Chris, how have things developed? Because there's your professional surfing side of the film, but then there's also the work that you started with the children in your area. So what's happened since then with both of those sides of your life?
Well, let me see how I could take this one. Listen, when we started the film, I'll start from here. Mm-hmm. All I knew was that I wanted to get on tour and wanted to get on the World Championship tour. I felt that I could have done it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the universe had different plans for me.
Thank goodness.
We had a great, exciting, sometimes hard journey in every way. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, because in many ways the film projected and predicted what I was going to do. And at the time, when the film was done and premiered and all of that, at the time, I'm sure me and James and everybody else, we didn't know. I didn't know I was going to be working with kids. The film ended with that. I always felt that where I would travel go to those places in a competitive capacity. I didn't know that I would be going on these places, South Africa as a philanthropist, going to Hawaii to work with other youths.
As an ambassador.
And if you look at the film in its whole entirety now, you would see that it predicted literally what I was going to be doing today. Fast forward today with a lot of good memories and a lot of powerful moments and a lot of growth. We founded an NGO called Waves for Hope. But before I get into that, I must admit, for a moment, when the film was finished, I felt a little lost, because it was more like, all right, they are my competitive surfing, you know, what's next, you know? The film created this platform for me to see and do new things and travel as well. And then when the film was wrapped up, and it was like a bittersweet ending in many ways, because you're like but I didn't know I was in transition. That's all it was, in transition. And again, that whole organic thing started where, you know, I felt it was time to, I didn't even feel it was time. It just happened where I just started like contributing more to my community. And I didn't realize what I was doing at the time. I was just doing it because, one, it felt good, and two, it felt like it was the right thing to do.
But Chris, was there at that point, I mean, so because you said you felt lost, and I can talk to you about that for for days, you know, you and I, because I think we went through a similar experience, and you know, Trinidad nosedived at the time, and we had called the film Between Worlds, to kind of like allude to that, where you were, are you here? Are you there? Like you know, you were in the US, and you know, and you felt like you didn't belong, and you come back to Trinidad and feel like you didn't belong. So that was a huge element of that.
Between Worlds had a different meaning for me, you know, James. I
Sure.
don't know if we discussed this. Between Worlds for me meant living in Balandra totally off the grid.
Yeah.
A payphone you'll have to use to call people in America. You'll stand in line to get the only payphone on the junction.
Yeah.
You know? And then all of a sudden I'm in the US, I'm in Brazil, I'm in California, and then I go back to my village, and life is the same, and I'm walking down the road barefoot, and people don't care or don't have a clue what I just experienced.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what Between Worlds meant for me.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about that? Because I mean, that's got to be culture shock. How did you deal with that?
I wasn't that culture shocked, because I used to read a lot, and I felt like by the time I got there, I felt like I've been there already. I've been there before. I felt like everything that I've gone through up until that point, I was prepared for that. I used to sit on the beach and just take myself out of where I was in Trinidad, and like I used to feel like I was in a contest, or I was in a heat, or like I had that mindset. So
you know, I want to stick a pin in that, because this is something I was sharing with a good friend of mine. We were talking the other day, and she was in a tough place, and I actually gave her that same story, because it's something that I've held on to, and I hope that people take this away. If there's one thing people can take away from this film, or even this conversation, it's that in this space and time that you are in now, whatever it is that you know, everyone has goals and aspirations. And Chris said this to me at one point. I think I must have said to you, Chris, you know, how do you deal with the the fact that everyone is doing the heats. You know, you're going up against guys who are doing heats, and they're practicing heats, and they're practicing, you know, the psychology of the challenge of competitorship in the water or whatever. And Chris just looked at me. He said, "James, I'm doing heats in my head all the time. All the time I'm out here by myself. There's 3 other guys in the water with me, and we're surfing on a clock, and I'm judging every single wave, and I'm fighting for priority against imaginary people." And I was just floored, because it meant to me that it didn't matter if you were too far away, couldn't afford it, whatever the barriers were to you, at least that aspect of your sport, or your, you know, as an individual athlete, if you're pursuing something, and wider in life, not just with sports. Don't think that the situation that you're in now precludes you from getting all the way. Or in Chris's case, it was, I want to compete against the top 100 surfers in the world. I was like, okay, well, they're all competing against each other all the time. How are you going to deal with that? And that was his strategy for dealing with that. And I think it's an excellent strategy in life. I used it to complete my music that has taken me like 10 to 12 years to release this album of music. But I always told myself, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you're not in the studio every day. It doesn't matter that you're not, you know, rubbing shoulders with people who are, I'm in the film scene. I'm not in the music scene, you know, so I felt isolated from all of that. And Chris's voice was always in my head telling me, it doesn't matter, just do the project, live that situation all of the time, and you'll eventually get there. And yeah, last year we put the album out, me and a couple of friends, and I was like, this is something that you'll die thinking that one day you're going to do and have a regret for not doing it. So do the heats in your head. So sorry, I wanted to stick a big pin in that one. And
but it's good that you touched on that, because that's a bit of mindfulness. And fast forward to now, it's one of the biggest tools that we teach our youth and kids. You see, sometimes all your experience, when they encompasses your whole aspect of your life. And if you're in situations, be it the office or be it in relationships or whatever, in my area would be working with youth. We all have some sort of experience that could be translated to something solid and positive that somebody could walk away with, feeling better about themselves. Now we just do it at Waves for Hope in a structured format, you know.
So what is that structure? I mean, you're doing a lot of work with the youth there. How did that come about, and what is it like?
Well, that came about again with a dream. Again, I just felt like, for want of a better word, the universe just kind of worked with me. See, when you grew up not having much, you don't have a lot to lose. So I never really, obviously you'll feel lost at times and powerless, but other times you'll feel good and powerful. And but you never really feel like you're going to lose. So I just went along with where I was guided to, and that's how that came about. When the film was finished and I started working with youths, you know, 5 youths grew to 10, and 10 grew to 15, and 18, and 20, and then suddenly I had no surfboards. And because I was on tour and made a lot of friends, and I just reached out to friends and just basically asked them, hey, we need some surfboards down here. And before I knew it, we were doing a surfboard drive, and I got a scholarship to South Africa to study surf therapy.
Wow. Oh.
So yeah, it probably seemed like obviously I probably felt lost, but like I said earlier, the universe had different plans for me. And now I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Now I know what I was born to do. Now I feel that every experience that I have in the past has prepared me for every moment from here on out. And yeah, that's where I am now.
Don't ask me any questions for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, no. So tell me about the lessons that you're teaching through surfing.
So we have a structured program, and we have a curriculum, and surfing is just a byproduct. We use surfing as one of the skills where kids and youths can challenge themselves. You see, if you feel that you can accomplish a task, same thing like me back then, when every time I got a result, I felt like I could go further. It's kind of the same. If you feel like you can conquer that wave, if you feel like you can get better at swimming through surfing, if you feel, so that's one of the things. The other thing is we basically teach coping skills to deal with stress, be it in school, be it in home life. We work with a lot of smart, brilliant youths who just needed an opportunity, who just needs an opportunity, just like me. And now I know it's my turn to provide the same opportunity in many different forms now, just like James and crew did for me.
That's cool.
That's pretty powerful. Pretty powerful. And
Casey
Casey,
joined us. I know,
Yeah,
how cool is
yeah.
that? All I'm doing is I'm waiting for Fung, and then it's like my dream has come true.
Well, I think you mentioned you a minute ago, Casey, because your voice was the one that said, "I'm about to die" on the.
Yeah, it put me in a lot of precarious situations.
Casey, we all did. Sorry.
Casey, tell us a little bit about what you remember from filming. It sounds like a crazy bunch you're hanging around with right here.
It was just a lot of fun. A lot of last minute decisions, a lot of jumping in where we shouldn't have been, but it was a whole bunch of fun, really, and I enjoyed every minute of making it.
Did you ever really feel in danger, or were you playing?
Once or twice. But that was my job, right?
So Casey had the unfortunate special power of being the lightest person in our crew. So if ever there was a situation where it was like, oh man, can we pull this off? I don't know, this guy's going to be too heavy. This guy's going to be too heavy. We would just look at Casey.
I got thrown under the bus.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And so do you surf? I'm taking it you do.
Not really, actually. I did it a few times.
We have evidence. We have evidence that she is surfing.
I've tried a few times, but didn't give it a go enough.
So I know everybody's going to really enjoy the film. I think it looks to me like there needs to be a reunion of all of you guys. And who's in Tobago right now? I think it's just Dwayne, right?
Yeah.
So Dwayne, I think we need to head your way and set something up.
Hey, man, that's what
Well, so we're always talking about what is the next chapter of the story for Waves for Hope and Chris and us, because we're in like whatever happens. I know I'm now in another country and this is difficult, but that's not always going to be the case. And I like to think that we have allies on the ground to keep telling the story. So I'm curious to see where this goes. I mean, we're all only still young, and I think that especially in Chris's organization, in terms of what they're doing, they're a very young outfit and have the potential, I think, to impact not just a lot more people in Trinidad and Tobago, but also the Caribbean, So that's kind of where I feel, with time, that this could go with enough resources behind it. So I'm curious at this point.
So do you imagine a sequel then, a part 2?
Casey, you're gonna go shoot it?
I have a ton of footage.
For sure.
I have a ton of footage, guys.
That's true.
Yeah.
Tons of footage.
Yeah. We've been talking. Something's gonna happen.
That's good. Oh wow. Well, Chris, what is something else you want people to know about where you are right now?
Well, firstly, I would just like to, again, I can't say thank you enough to everybody who supported the film from the beginning. Casey, Dwayne, everybody, Anthony, Fung, James.
The people who were in it too. I mean, like Dan and Peter Mel away and
everybody,
Mike and
everybody who supported. I think, that's a lot of people who really, once people believe in something, for an individual, if people believe in you, all it takes is one person to believe in you, to help push you forward. And that's belief is a real powerful thing. And another thing is faith, just knowing that things are going to be fine, things are going to work out no matter what. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. If I haven't said it enough, if I was too immature back then, or whatever.
I think we all were.
Eternally grateful, and more filled with being humble than anything else. We are all friends till this day. You know, the last time I saw Dwayne, it was surfing together in Tobago. I was a couple of weeks ago, right, Dwayne?
Yeah.
Me and James talk on the phone still at least 2 or 3 times a month, right, James? Mm-hmm. And Casey would recognize me in a coverall covered in grass in a place where I'm not even supposed to be, you know, and stop and have a conversation. And so much so that Casey is now actually involved in helping getting our homework center for our youth off the ground. So it's more than just a film, you know, it's a bond, it's friendship, and these things at the end of the day is what lasts, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they are some of the most important things to me, because I remembered always, just like sometimes we all feel like that, like we're alone, you know.
I remember talking to you. You called me from Puerto Rico, I think. You had just either you had won or something had changed, you know. Something had changed. It was significant, and Miranda, I put it on speakerphone, and Miranda was there, or whatever. And I don't think any one of us knew where this was going to end up, but we were just in 100%. And I think that's, you'd say it's more than the film now. And yeah, it's those moments where we were like, you know, the film is. It's cool to have it out there, and anytime you can just go press play. But it is such a slice in time of the situation, where it was, as it was, and it's uncanny, as you said, that it's sort of foretold, you know, your future and what it's become. It's awesome experience, and I couldn't have shared it with a nicer bunch of people. It's been cool.
Well, I have to ask quickly then, Casey, we've talked a little bit ago, I think it was before you jumped on, about what things are happening right now. And they mentioned the homework center. So tell me a little bit about that. What's going on with that, and how is that going?
We haven't really been in contact too much enough since, but my husband owns a couple of companies and trying to get some windows and roofing and other things to kind of complete the whole project and have a base, you know. I told Chris anyhow I could help, I would, and trying my best.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be great. That's going to be great.
She's being very modest. She's one of the biggest. She's help, you know.
Well, I think the important takeaway, and this is another thing that I hope people can take away, is that, and I'm going back to the music too. It has taken so long, and this has been such a long journey. And even when we were doing it, Casey will remember this, like, because we filmed for like a year, right? We had 40 hours of footage. We filmed for a year. I actually found a photograph the other day. Do you remember those cards we made? We made I had everybody go through like a piece of the 40-hour chunk, because we were deadlines, right? I figured it's quicker to do that and write down what happened on a card and give it to me. I took it home. I put it all over the floor, and I just looked and I was like, no, this should go after that, and this should go after that, and this should go after that. And one night I shuffled everything until it was back in one neat pile. I took it into work the next day and I said, edit that. And I think that was the first rough cut.
So James, cool. How many of those little SD cards did you have for this film? Because I remember you had a big one for The Edge.
I know, and back in the day too, this is when cameras, you know, the 5D went from, one day it was a stills camera, and then the next day it was a video camera, and I was like, I had to figure this out and try to. And this is why I was telling you earlier, like, Casey's so instrumental too, because how do you change a memory card in the middle of the sea?
In the water, yeah.
Cool.
Unreal. Oh, wow. Well, I do have one last question, James. This is for you, because Chris is being very serious today. I mean, this is a serious conversation, and this is not the Chris I saw in parts of the film now. So what is something that didn't make it into the film that you want to tell us about Chris? Because I know there's stuff out there.
I think you need to speak to the editors on that one. Maybe there was a dancing bit. Maybe there was
oh yeah. Chris doing the Brazilian dance known as, I forget how you pronounce it, but yeah,
Capoeira.
Yeah.
there you go. Is that what is that like to bring the waves?
Yes, it was.
Did it work?
He was calling the waves. I think it did that day.
Oh wow!
Awesome.
Well, it's an amazing film, and Chris, it's an amazing story. So I know how you feel when we thank James for sharing our stories, but it's pretty special.
Thank you, and it's a beautiful thing. Obviously, we all know that, and probably we feel it too. And it's not that I'm serious. It's just that it means a lot, obviously, to all of us, and it's the same for me. It has meant a lot from day one, and it has propelled us in many ways, in many parts of our lives, to go forward and just keep growing. And it's the same for me.
Definitely, and I'm just teasing you.
If you want to see Chris in his most candid, watch the movie.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's probably like if you made a film about me and I was as candid as Chris was on camera, and then you put it out into the world, I would definitely be a lot more how to say this, select with my outbursts. I mean that in a really good way, because as I said, and I put this online the other day, and I said, the whole reason why everyone has been behind Chris and supported him is it's just because of him. It's because of his character, his smile, his laugh. That's totally infectious. And everyone's like, you're going to do what? I'm in. I don't know. Do you have some sort of magic ability is what it is, dude. I don't know.
Nah.
Now he's being modest.
True.
Definitely. Well, all we can say then is watch the film. So, James, how can people watch the film?
So, well, we're recording this before the premiere tonight. We're going to run the premiere. We're going to put this on afterwards. So everyone is, right now, you can go watch it from when this is. Right now, you can watch it on YouTube, The Art of Storytelling YouTube channel, our Facebook page. We will add it to our website, theartofstorytelling.com. There's a section on there called AOS Films, and we're just sort of releasing bit by bit all of the great movies that we've produced that have evolved from, hey, this is a commercial project. Oh no, it's not. It's an independent film. No, it's not. It's like a lifelong content strategy thing. Yeah, so they're all happening now, and it's really, really fun to go back to them. And I should mention too that this film, just like the Edge that we put out recently, has been remastered again. I think it's been edited now 5 times or something. So this is, and it's 43 minutes. So if you're looking for some incredible surfing, really, really explosive surfing, beautiful locations, and just fantastic camera work from great angles, just watch this film. It's awesome.
Sounds like a plan.
Huge plug.
Yes, definitely. Well,
and more importantly, I think we'll put links to it over at Chris's place, wavesforhope.org, because really that's ultimately what I'm trying to do here, is drive as much traffic to and shine as much of a light as possible on that. So yeah, please go and visit that as well and support those guys as much as you can. The film will support them, but it's really good to just go straight there. There's ways to donate and everything, and you can have a really big impact and have a sustaining impact as well, which is more important.
Yeah.
That
And we
sounds
should,
great.
we should congratulate Chris again, because he just won the Aloha Award. I don't know if you all talked about that at all.
We didn't. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's
so-
too much. Like you start to peel the layers off of Chris. It's like just incredible, So,
Well, tell me, what is that? Yeah.
Well, the Aloha Award, I didn't even know I was nominated for an award until I made it to the top 5. Then I was getting a call from an international judge for an interview, because everybody in the top 5 had to get interviewed, because everybody in the top 5 is capable of winning this award. The Aloha Award is an award that it's kind of an international award, and I think this year there were 35 or 40 nominees, and obviously you can't nominate yourself. I was nominated by people in California and Hawaii. Some of them I don't even know. and it
And what's
turned
it
out
for?
that
Like
all-
Aloha in particular. Who are they looking to award? What's the?
I can-
They're doing your take that one.
I was gonna just quote it because the moment Chris told me, I instantly went on social media and just put it everywhere. But what I wrote, which I got off his site, was it recognizes individuals in the global surfing community who are ambassadors for the Aloha spirit. And the word Aloha, is, I mean, Chris has been to Hawaii. I only dream of going there, but he can. It means to anybody in the world, the aloha as a word just means, like welcome, love, all of those type of things. And, he's an ambassador to that word almost. When you say that word, these are the people of one and now Chris, these are the individuals that's in part of their being, their selves. And, if you say that word, or you see Chris, that's what you feel. And all of these programs that Chris has been part of, that Chris is now shepherding and directing, is just bringing that term aloha to now, the north coast of Trinidad and all these little kids who come from, broken homes who need that guidance, So it's, and that award comes with a donation to his organization again. So all of these things help grow this whole movement, let's call it.
Fantastic.
Yes, much needed support to the organization. So I'm pretty happy, obviously.
Yeah, I can't reiterate that enough. If you watch the movie or you listen to this conversation or you read up on the award and you it makes you feel good, get involved, and you can do that at wasteforhope.org. Seriously.
Well, thank you guys. This has been great.
Thank you, Julianne. Awesome. And thank you, Chris.
Thank you guys.